The role of chief architect really involves, giving the direction to Sify's current and forthcoming technologies, our forays into newer spaces, as well as looking at squarely at our current operations, making sure that the infrastructure is working, at the optimal efficiency levels, as well as making sure that it is optimized and ready for growth of the newer applications and the newer services that we have on our roadmap. So the job effectively involves the entire range of looking across market segments, across business lines, to see as to what we can best do with our skill set, with our IP-based technologies, and where do we need to kind of take this forward. From Sify's perspective as a service provider, a value engineered data center involves much more than sheer technology. It involves also as to what services that we are able to host in these data centers, the kind of processes that are inbuilt into our ecosystem that help us to deliver those services to our customers. We need to see as to what specific technologies that we need to factor into our designs, and what do we need to do with our legacy data centers so that they are all working in conjunction with the requirements of the environment. So these are all different, disparate 3 or 4 areas, but to my mind, once they're all put together, that's the value proposition that you truly offer to your customer. It's just not raw space or managed raw space. It depends, where the customer is coming from. For example, if you look at organizations who are India-centric but are expanding outside India, they are familiar with service providers in the country, and they would effectively, depending upon their critical IT infrastructure or specific services, for example, that they may buy from a company like ours, those would be hosted out of our data center or a data center that's available in India. On the other hand, if you have a multinational which is outside the country and is trying to come into India, for them the value proposition of our data centers is that here is a world-class infrastructure where they can, with putting their minds to rest in terms of quality or performance, are able to put their hardware equipment into that data center and work seamlessly in the global ecosystem. At the same time, the reverse is also true. Nothing at all prevents from an Indian company having a DR or a disaster recovery center, for example, outside India. So it plays out on both fronts, both as a primary data center, place where services get supplied from. It also acts as a BCP and a DR kind of a scenario where it becomes like a redundant infrastructure so that your business performance is not affected in adversity. If you look at the enterprise side, more and more enterprises, want that this whole concept of managed services is really to outsource their complexity actually to the service provider. They don't want to deal, with hundreds or thousands of mailboxes. They don't want to deal with as to how secure is my environment. All that complexity can actually fit inside the service provider cloud and can be given as a pay-per-use or a subscription-based service to the enterprise. It has a lot of impact, especially on the small and medium enterprise, for example. We want to make sure, that these technologies, such architectures, are indeed available for us to approach these markets, and so that enterprises of all dimensions, small, medium, or large, are able to do their business while leaving the complexities of IT to a service provider. To my mind, that is what is powering the next generation data centers. When you take a new technology, it comes with a pinch of salt. You need to make sure that it works and scales well, or scales as well as you would have it in the pre-virtualization area. So I think it's primarily that. So virtualization still needs to be proven on a large scale, for example. So scalability is an issue. Again, depends on the kind of customer that is using virtualization. A small customer, may choose to try it out and say that, well, can I kind of reap benefits for both power and space through virtualization? Larger organizations which have got lots of business running on a certain fabric may find it a little more difficult to undergo that transformation. So I think the answer to that lies both in terms of where are the skill sets, or what is your appetite to take on new technology, and more importantly, how do you intend to manage new technology and scale your business with it. Within Sify's IT perspective, we did do a virtualization kind of exercise to consolidate our platforms related to our mailing and others, corporate as well as consumer, and on the storage front. And we saw clear benefits from that. Again, it's a relatively small environment, and time will tell as to how that will scale. Evaluate your hardware, your software, and your tools and your management components very well. Have a look at as to what kind of power and cooling requirements classically that they would require. Do not oversize or go to the extreme in terms of having building in redundancy which you don't need. I think scalability is important. Have a vision of where you want your systems to scale. Equally important, when you plug in and plug out IT infrastructure, is also a load on the system, right? So do plan your scalability so that you are able to, within the horizon that is important for the business of the organization, you have the IT infrastructure that can scale.